The arena stank of ionized blood and scorched metal. Above the jagged obsidian stands, the Galactic Council loomed in their hovering tribunal, their elongated shadows stretching across the sand like grasping claws. The crowd, a seething mass of chitin, scales, and bioluminescent eyes, roared as the next combatant was shoved into the light. He stumbled, boots kicking up crimson dust. Human. A murmur rippled through the spectators. Humans were rare in the blood sands. Too fragile, too soft. Good for a quick slaughter, little else. This one, though, didn't kneel, didn't beg. He straightened, rolling his shoulders with a quiet crack of bone, and squinted up at the council's dais. His face was a mess of half-healed bruises, his dark uniform torn, but his eyes were sharp. Amused, almost. "Another volunteer," sneered Councillor Vexus, her voice a sibilant hiss. Her forearms flexed, the jeweled carapace along her back gleaming under the arena's harsh lights. The human spat to the side. "Volunteer. Right." His voice was rough, accent clipped, military, if the council's linguists had paused correctly. A chuckle rumbled from the massive, horned figure beside Vexus. High Warlord Grux leaned forward, his tusked grin dripping with saliva. "You fought well in the pits of Zorath for a human." The man's lips twitched. "And you talk a lot. For a corpse." The crowd erupted. Grux's laughter boomed, but his eyes darkened. The gates at the far end of the arena groaned open. Out slithered Kazur the Bone Ripper, a champion of the sands, his exoskeleton a nightmare of serrated edges and old scars. The human's fingers flexed, empty. No weapon, no armor, just the tattered remains of his clothes and the glint of metal at his throat, twin tags on a chain. Kazur lunged. The human moved like he'd been waiting for it. He sidestepped, grabbed one of Kazur's spined limbs, and used the alien's momentum to hurl him into the arena wall. The impact sent cracked spiderwebbing through the stone. The crowd's jeers stuttered into silence. Kazur recovered fast, striking like a whip. The human barely dodged, a claw grazing his ribs. Blood welled, but he didn't stagger. He grinned. "You're slow," he said. Kazur screeched and attacked again. This time, the human feinted left, then drove his elbow into the joint where the alien's carapace thinned. Something cracked. Kazur howled. The human didn't let up. He fought dirty. Sand in the eyes, a kick to the throat, fingers jammed into gills. The arena wasn't about honor. It was about survival. When Kazur finally collapsed, twitching, the human stood over him, chest heaving. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and turned to the council. "Next." The crowd went wild. But in the tribunal, Councillor Vexus wasn't cheering. Her slit pupils narrowed, zeroing in on the metal tag swinging from the human's neck. The markings were crude, Terran script, and below it, an insignia. Her blood ran cold. She knew that symbol. Every species in the galaxy did. Leaning over, she hissed to Grux, "Call off the next bout." Grux frowned. "Why? This is just getting." "Look at his tags." Grux did. His tusks clenched. On the sand below, the human tilted his head, watching them, waiting. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council hesitated. ### **** notes on execution ****. **** precision ****. Every sentence introduces character, conflict, or stakes. No filler. ****. Pacing ****. The fight is brutal and swift, showcasing the human skill without over-describing. Cliffhanger **** ends on the council's dawning realization, urging the reader forward. The air in the Blood Sands arena hung thick with the metallic tang of spilled ichor and the ozone crackle of force fields. High above the combat pit, the Galactic Council's tribunal platform hovered like a blade waiting to drop, its obsidian surface reflecting the dim glow of dying stars. The crowd's roar crested as the gates groaned open, revealing the day's final contender, a lone human, shoved forward into the crimson dust by the electrified prod of his Antherian god. He stumbled but didn't fall. The impact sent his dog tag swinging against his bruised chest, the metallic click barely audible over the jeering crowd. His boots found purchase in the sand as he straightened, rolling tension from his shoulders with deliberate calm. Dark eyes scanned the arena walls, the observation deck, the weapons rack just out of reach, assessing, calculating, while the announcer's voice boomed across the stadium. From the backwater world of Terra, a species so weak they needed machines to reach the stars. The amplified voice dripped with mockery. Let's see how long this one lasts against our reigning champion. The human's mouth twitched. Not fear, something darker. Amusement. Across the pit, the gates shuddered open once more. Kedar the Sundier emerged, his chitinous bulk scraping against the stone archway. 8 segmented legs carried the champion forward, each step punctuated by the dry rattle of his exoskeleton. Acid dripped from his mandibles, hissing as it struck the sand. Councillor Vexis leaned forward in her floating throne, delicate fingers steepled. A wager. Grux, she purred, her voice like oil on water. How many heartbeats before the human stopped screaming? The massive warlord beside her chuckled, the sound rumbling through his barrel chest. I give him until Kedar's first strike. His tusks gleamed as he grinned. Humans bruised so prettily. Below them, the combatants circled. The human moved with an economy of motion that seemed wrong for a deathmatch. No posturing, no wasted energy. Just steady footwork and watchful eyes. Kedar struck first, a blur of chitin and venom. The human twisted aside, feeling the rush of air as deadly claws passed centimeters from his face. He pivoted on his heel, driving an elbow into the joint where the champion's third leg met its thorax. A sickening crack echoed through the suddenly silent arena. The crowd's jeers died in their throats. Kedar screeched, a sound that set teeth on edge, and lashed out with renewed fury. The human danced back, sent kicking up around his boots. A claw caught his arm, shredding fabric and flesh alike. Blood pattered onto the dust, but his expression never changed. If anything, his smile grew sharper. You fight like you've got a curfew, the human said, voice rough but carrying. He wiped blood from his brow with the back of his hand. I was expecting more from a champion. The insult landed perfectly. Kedar charged in a blind rage, all 8 legs churning the sand. The human waited until the last possible moment before dropping into a slide, passing beneath the alien's bulk. As he came up, he drove 2 fingers into the soft tissue beneath Kedar's thorax. The champion collapsed like a marionette with its strings cut. Silence blanketed the arena. Then, chaos. The crowd erupted in disbelief, alien voices shouting in a dozen languages. Credits changed hands as bets were settled. Through it all, the human stood calmly over his fallen opponent, chest rising and falling steadily, his dog tags glinting in the arena lights. On the observation deck, Councillor Vexis went very still. Her slit pupils dilated as she focused on the metal discs hanging around the human's neck. The markings were unfamiliar, angular Terran script, but the insignia beneath. Her breath caught. Grux, she hissed, claws digging into the armrests of her throne. Look at his tags. The warlord frowned, following her gaze. His massive frame tensed as recognition dawned. That's impossible, he rumbled. The Terrans were exterminated at Dash. Clearly not all of them. Vexis interrupted, her voice gone cold. She rose from her seat, the motion fluid and dangerous. Call off the next match. Now. Below them, the human tilted his head up, meeting their gazes across the distance. For the first time since he'd been dragged into the arena, he smiled properly, a slow, knowing thing that didn't reach his eyes. And in that moment, the Galactic Council remembered why they'd ordered the extermination of his kind in the first place. The arena's force field hummed like a living thing, its violet glow casting jagged shadows across the blood-stained sand. From my vantage point in the prisoner's chute, I watched the remains of the last combatant being hosed away by faceless drones, their plasma torches making quick work of what the acid spitter had left behind. The metallic stench of scorched flesh clung to my nostrils as the guard's shot prod bit into my back. Move, human. The Xantharian's vocal sac pulsed with disdain. Entertain us before you die. I stepped into the light, the sudden glare making my dog tags gleam against my torn fatigues. The crowd's roar hit me like a physical force, 1,000 alien throats screaming for blood. My blood. Above it all, floating on antigrave platforms, the Galactic Council watched with detached amusement. I recognized Vexis immediately, her chitinous exoskeleton polished to a mirror shine, for delicate hands folded in mock prayer. Beside her, Grux's massive tusks glistened with fresh oil, his barrel chest vibrating with laughter at some private joke. The announcer's voice boomed through the arena. Another soft skin for the grinder. Shall we make it interesting this time? A ripple of cruel laughter spread through the stands as the weapons rack descended, then retracted just as quickly. Ah, hands only. I flexed my fingers, feeling the knuckles pop. The scars they told stories the council would pay to forget. Across the pit, the gates groaned open. My opponent emerged in a cloud of sulphurous smoke, a Kralix berserker, his cybernetic implants whining with poorly calibrated enhancements. The crowd chanted his name as he flexed claws that could rend steel. I stayed still, counting his steps, marking the slight hitch in his left hydraulic joint. Look at it tremble. Grux's voice shook the arena. I'll wager 50,000 credits it voids itself before the first blow. Vexis's answering chuckle set my teeth on edge. You always did overestimate their resilience. The Kralix charged with a roar that distorted the force field. I waited until his shadow fell over me before moving, not away, but into the attack. My elbow found the weak point beneath his ribcage where flesh met machine. The sickening crunch of collapsing circuitry drowned in the crowd's sudden gasp. He staggered. I didn't let him recover. 3 precise strikes later, the berserker collapsed in a heap of twitching limbs and sparking wires. The silence was louder than the cheers had been. I wiped his acidic blood from my forearm, watching it eat through the sand at my feet. Then I looked up, directly at the council. Next! The word hung in the air like a detonation waiting to happen. Vexis's antennae twitched. Grux's laughter died in his throat. They'd expected screams. Begging. Not this calm, calculated violence. Not the way my dog tags caught the light as I turned, revealing the insignia they'd hoped never to see again. Vexis stood so suddenly her platform rocked. Her delicate hands gripped the railing, claws scoring deep grooves in the metal. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of a death sentence. That's no colonist. The tremor in her words sent a thrill through my battered body. That's a Terran Valkyrie. The blood in my mouth tasted like victory. Let them look closer. Let them see the serial number etched beneath my rank. Let them remember what happens when you throw wolves into the arena and forget to check their teeth.